Give it to Taylor, and the burst from Taylor, he's going to break away! Taylor takes it in, touchdown! Streaking down.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the third rendition of the J-Talkshow. We're going to dive right into it. My goal for these videos as we progress is to try to make them shorter, more content dense, and hopefully more right picks. Topics, we're going to have 3 topics today. It's finals week, so it's going to kind of be a little bit of a quicker video, but I definitely want to get this out. We're going to be going week 14 recap. Didn't do very well, went 50% on my picks this week. We're going to do a week 15 game picks pretty quick. And then we're actually going to do a Denver Broncos 1.0 mock draft. And, that should be pretty fun. So without further regards, let's get right to it. So like I said earlier, week 14, we went 8-8. Some pretty big losses. I'm not going to go through all of them just because, I just need to be better. I feel the problem I have is probably picking more on heart rather than gut instinct. And I'm going to do a lot better this week. It's a new week. We'll, get past the old one. I'm actually going to either put my current prediction record for 2020 right here at the bottom, or it may be in the description. So week 15, there's a lot of interesting matchups, and it should be a very compelling week and deciding the playoff future for many teams right here. So let's get right to it. Thursday night, we have a banger. We have the Los Angeles Chargers coming in at 4-9 after a nice win against the Falcons, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. Thursday night, primetime game. I have the Oakland Raiders here. It should be a pretty close game. It always is close between these two AFC West rivals, but time will tell. Moving on, we have the Saturday slate games. Yes, we do have games on Saturday this year. We have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos looked pretty impressive last week. Drew Lock literally threw for 4 touchdowns. Good matchup between, against the Panthers. I actually had the Panthers winning that one, and the Broncos definitely proved me wrong. So did 7 other teams that week. So the Bills are coming off a pretty impressive win of their own against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a little bit of a tough one. They're playing in Denver, but I do like Buffalo in this one. If you are doing the spread, though, Denver right now is +6. I would definitely take the spread on that one. I think it's going to be a close game, believe it or not. I feel like the Broncos are a team that surprises you. Moving on, the next game on Saturday, we have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Green Bay Packers. Panthers, coming off a loss, like I said, against the Denver Broncos. And, they're still kind of in a rebuilding phase, in my opinion. And then you got the Green Bay Packers, who are Super Bowl contenders. I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. The line is 8.5. I'm still taking the Packers, even with that handicap. Packers, Aaron Rodgers, possible, MVP candidate for this year. We'll go ahead and see what happens. The next matchup we got is between the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team. The Seattle Seahawks coming off a very, very impressive win against the New York Jets. Compelling win. They only gave them 3 points. But then you got to really ask yourself, is it really impressive to beat the Jets this year? The way they did it, though, they are still a professional football team. It was still a really big win. Washington football team, defense, really hot recently. I'm going to take Seattle in this one, even though they're playing in Washington. The line is 5.5 for Seattle. I will actually take Washington in the spread, but I think Seattle wins the game all in all. Moving on to the next game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. This one's pretty short and sweet. We're going with Tampa Bay here. I mean, Tom Brady having a good year. A lot of weapons around him, too. You got Ronald Jones, who's top 5 in rushing right now. Really just big improvements from last year, just all in all with this team. And they look to end their playoff drought. It's been 10-plus years. We'll see what happens. Next game, we got the 49ers and the Cowboys. 2 teams that have definitely not had the season they thought they would. With that being said, I take the 49ers here just because Nick Mullins is a very hot and cold quarterback. So he had a really not so great game last week against Washington for obvious reasons. That defense is just ferocious. He's going against a softer defense this week in the Dallas Cowboys. I'm taking the 49ers here, both spread and money line. Moving on, we have the Detroit Lions taking on the Tennessee Titans. This is also a pretty easy matchup. Tennessee Titans are going to win this one. They are in playoff mode right now. It's do or die for them. So don't be surprised if this one definitely gets lopsided towards the end. But yes, the line is actually minus 11 for Tennessee. I'd still take Tennessee in this situation. Next game, we got the Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Phillip Rivers had a nice game last week, along with Jonathan Taylor, who went off. He's got the burners. That 4.3 speed was on display on that 60-yard plus breakaway run. Look for the Colts to handle business at their home stadium against a division foe, and this is really going to catapult them to that playoff caliber that we're looking for. Hopefully, Phillip Rivers can produce maybe this year when he gets in the playoffs. Hopefully he gets in the playoffs. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. He's very deserving of a ring, in my opinion. Next matchup, we got the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins had a close game last week. Tua did pretty well, even though they took the L. They're coming in at 8-5, and you got the New England Patriots fresh off a devastating loss against the Los Angeles Rams on national television. You know, Bill Belichick does very good against rookie quarterbacks, but in this certain situation, I feel like he won't do as good, and I have the Miami Dolphins taking the win on this one. The line is -2. I'm still taking Miami on this one. The next matchup, we got Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, two NFC North, rivals. Minnesota, underwhelming last week for sure. And then you got the Chicago Bears, who really just came into their own. Mitchell Trubisky played well. The running game was on. The defense and offense were both clicking all cylinders. I don't see that happening this week. I have Minnesota in this matchup. Stay tuned on that one. Should be a close game. Like I said, these division games are usually pretty close for the most part. Jacksonville Jaguars and Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, obviously, on this pick. But I just got to say, Lamar Jackson, with that last drive on Monday Night Football, was just extraordinary. I mean, he really displayed why he was the MVP last year. And it was crazy. He was going in with cramps at halftime. And, he comes out when Trace McSorley seems to be injured. And, he's like the superhero. He comes and saves the day. They end up pulling off a crazy win. And they're an exciting football team to watch. Even though they're not as good as last year, they're still a very exciting team to watch. My lock of the week, we have the Jets taking on the Rams. I went against the Rams last week. I won't make that same mistake this week. This team is good. I have the Rams lock pick of the week. They're -17. I actually take the Jets with that spread because that's literally 3 possessions. But with that being said, the Rams should handle this one. Should be in the bag. Next game, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Jalen Hurts got his first win last week as a starter against New Orleans. And the Cardinals also themselves coming off a decent performance, enough to get the win. And this is a tough matchup, I feel. I feel like Jalen Hurts is still definitely, new to the scene, so maybe it may be hard to scheme around him. But with that being said, I am definitely going to pick the Cardinals on this one. They're playing at their home. Kyler Murray, I feel like he's going to start heating up again. He's kind of cooled down a little bit, kind of started back up again last week. I look for more progression towards the playoffs. So hopefully it gets clicking on all cylinders. And the next matchup, the game of the week, in my opinion, you got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are 12-1. They look like the most well-rounded, dominant team in the NFL right now. Super Bowl contenders. I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game. It's going to be in New Orleans. It's going to be a shootout. But look for the Kansas City Chiefs to come out on top like they always do. That offense can score at the snap of a fingers. And that defense is a big improvement from last year. Sunday night game, we got the Cleveland Browns taking on the New York Giants. The last time the Cleveland Browns were in the playoffs, we're talking 2002. and with Kelly Holcomb under center. That was a while ago. That was 18 years ago. They're in playoff contention right now, and I definitely take them in this game. It's playoff mode. If they're really that elite of a team, they're going to be a beatable team like the Giants. I expect them to win. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it does happen. I'd love to see Cleveland in the playoffs. And the final game, rounding out our Week 15 matchups, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I know what you're thinking right now. You're probably not going to like what I have to say right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a fraudulent 11-2 team. They do not feel like an 11-2 team. They feel more like an 8-5 team or a 9-4 team. But with that being said, the Bengals don't have a quarterback right now. They're without Joe Burrow. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers in this matchup. Look for them to win pretty big on Monday Night Football. But you got to keep in mind, too, it is a division game, so it could kind of surprise us all. I still expect Pittsburgh to come out on top. And that is it for the Week 15 picks. Hopefully it's better than 8-8, and I'll keep you updated. You're going to see throughout the weekend how my picks go. Hopefully it wins you guys money and gets you guys right picks, and hopefully your teams win. And if not, again, I apologize. Sorry, not sorry. This is my show. Moving on to the next subject, we're going to be going with the Denver Broncos mock draft 1.0. All right, so we're here with our Denver Broncos mock draft 1.0. So we're not going to be, so in this scenario, we're not moving on from Drew Lock. We are going to keep Drew Lock for another year. For obvious reasons, I feel like he wasn't able to play a full year, obviously, with the shoulder injury and the COVID-19 scare that he had. And I feel like the quarterback position for them is not a dire need. I feel like they got a guy who could still, be a serviceable quarterback. There's other areas on this team that you can build upon. So with that being said, you'll definitely see an emphasis on that. But we do take a quarterback in the later rounds, so don't think it's completely quarterback free. So the Broncos had, in this scenario, the season's not over yet, but in this scenario, they have the 13th overall pick in the first round. We make a trade with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wants to trade up and get a quarterback in this situation in the first round. We trade back with them. We acquire their 21st overall pick in the first round, and we acquire their second round pick. So with this first round pick, the Denver Broncos select Asante Samuel, cornerback, Florida State. It's really just bloodlines here. I love his bloodline. Asante Samuel Sr. was an absolute stud back in his playing day. All-Pro once, made the Pro Bowl multiple times, interceptions, co-leader multiple times. Stud. His father played at UCF. He plays for Florida State. But, he's been a shutdown corner at Florida State. I believe he opted out halfway through the season. But from what I saw in the beginning, absolute lockdown corner, island of his own. Nobody's coming on that island without a fight. Moving on to the next pick, we have our second round pick, Alaric Jackson, offensive tackle, Iowa. Look, Garrett Bowles has had a huge improvement as an offensive lineman, and that is not the issue. The issue to me is just the offensive line outside of Garrett Bowles. Yes, Lloyd Cushenberry is still a rookie at center. He's doing okay. Yes, they have Netane Moody at guard, but Alaric Jackson would add depth to this position, which is kind of a need right now. I feel like sometimes Drew Lock is always trying to improvise, and the time that he does have to throw, I feel like that's when he is a solid quarterback, like we saw last weekend against the Panthers. Next pick, we go linebacker Chaz Surratt from University of North Carolina. All in all, this guy is up there with one of the top linebackers in the country right now. And, I know we don't really, UNC doesn't get the love in football like it does in basketball, but this guy's a stud, and I definitely feel like he could fit into this defensive system pretty well. He's a very athletic linebacker, 6'3", 240. Just a monster of an athlete, and I think he'd be a great addition to this football team and really help bolster that defense. Moving on to the third round, we got Dalen Hayes, the edge rusher from Notre Dame. Notre Dame has been on a tear this year, and it always starts with that defense. We always expect high from that offensive line, which they always come through. They have Ian Book at quarterback, but this defense has been solid. And this man is part of the reason why. It's him and Hamilton that I always see getting in on plays and, sacking the quarterback pressures, just disrupting the whole offensive scheme. This addition would not only add depth, but it'd be able to allow the Broncos, if something like another Von Miller injury happens again, where they're not completely dead in the water at that position. And this moves us to our 4th round pick. We have Caden Stearns, the free safety from Texas. I believe the only player on this list to actually completely opt out from the beginning of the college season to focus on the draft. I feel like this will pay dividends. We're seeing this a lot with this COVID season. A lot of these stud players, they're opting out for the season and they're getting ready for the draft. I feel like this would be an absolute steal in the 4th round. It would add depth to this safety position that's already kind of ran by Justin Simmons. But you can never go wrong with getting a guy in the 4th round who can be a starter on a good contract and who's a solid middle of the pack guy. That's all you can really ask for, especially when you're dealing with cap and as a general manager. Moving on to our next pick, we got Donovan Steiner, strong safety from Florida. What can I say? Florida, just overall, solid team this year. I know they got upset by LSU last week. Don't look at one game and let it define the whole college season. They've been impressive, beginning with the quarterback and finishing with that defense. I definitely feel like Steiner could definitely be more of a developmental guy, but he definitely makes plays for Florida. He's been pretty good so far this year. He has a few picks, a good amount of tackles. I always kind of see him involved in the game. He's never really quiet. He always shows up somewhere on the stat sheet. And moving on to one of my favorite prospects from this draft, we're going 6th round pick, Brady White, quarterback from Memphis. Look, I know Denver may be trigger shy picking a quarterback in any round after what happened with Paxton Lynch. Don't fear Brady White. This man can be a very good starter if Drew Lock decides to not play to his full capabilities next year. But if Drew Lock does play to his full capabilities, we've seen that Drew Lock has some injury issues. And if COVID is still very much a thing next year, look for Brady White to be able to fill his shoes right then and there. And you're getting such a great value pick in the 6th round. I don't believe he'll fall in the 6th round. I think he goes a lot higher. But in this certain simulation, he's able to fall right in our lap, and it's going to work out perfectly. Maybe John Elway found his QB of the future if everything doesn't work out with Drew Lock. And rounding up our draft, we have Trey Ragas, running back, Louisiana Lafayette. This guy has just been a goal line vulture. He has 8+ touchdowns, and he's an absolute stud on the ground. He's a hard runner, and he hasn't gotten many receiving yards, not very many receptions either. But I feel like you could develop this guy's hands a little more, and he's just deadly in space. I urge those viewers who are really into football and really know the draft process to look at some videos on this guy. He's going to be probably a late round sleeper in my opinion, could even go undrafted. But if the Denver Broncos want to start building in the right direction, Melvin Gordon's not getting any younger, Phillip Lindsay's not getting any younger. I know it's crazy to think he's almost 26. So, and for the running back position, that's getting up there. You want to start looking for the running back. Royce Friesman hasn't really showed me anything to really let me know that he's going to be the bell cow for the future. So why not take a flyer in the 7th round with Trey Ragas? And that rounds out the mock draft. I know it's kind of a quick video, guys. That's kind of the goal. Just trying to lessen it every single time just to make it compact with dense, good information. And like I said earlier, if you guys could just like and subscribe to this video and just show support, that'd be great. I really appreciate everybody who watches these videos. Makes me feel good knowing that other people are appreciating my work. And, everybody just have a wonderful, safe rest of your week. And have a wonderful, safe rest of your Wednesday night. This is Jonathan Velasquez signing off.
The game. Blitz is picked up, and Mullins fumbles the football. Washington has it back. Chase Young. They're chasing him down the sideline. And Chase Young has a Washington touchdown. That deserves a wow.
And don't take a sack or a strip sack. What a great job by the Washington.